Blue eyes. Blue eyes contain very little melanin, the pigment that protects the iris from sunlight. Because of this, they offer the weakest natural defense against ultraviolet radiation. More light passes through to the retina, increasing glare, strain, and long-term UV exposure. Blue eyes once evolved to help early humans see better in low-light northern regions, but in modern bright environments, that same adaptation leaves them overexposed and sensitive. This sensitivity, called photophobia, can cause discomfort even indoors under bright lighting. Without sunglasses, blue eyes fatigue faster and tear more easily as they struggle to control incoming light. Medically, they are more prone to macular degeneration and photochemical stress, both linked to excess sunlight. The lighter iris reflects light internally, amplifying glare and reducing visual contrast. In sun-rich regions, blue eyes must work harder to stay clear and focused, a disadvantage built into their evolution for dim northern light. Blue eyes are relatively uncommon, appearing in only about 8 to 10% of the global population. Brown eyes. Brown eyes hold high levels of melanin, absorbing large amounts of light and heat. The deep pigment of brown eyes evolved as a shield in sun-heavy equatorial zones, yet in darker settings today, that very density limits night visibility. This makes them stable in daylight, but less efficient in darkness. In low-light settings, their dense pigment allows less light to reach the retina, slightly weakening night vision. Because darker pigments retain heat, brown eyes can feel strained under strong sunlight, especially without UV protection. Over time, that same pigment can undergo oxidative stress, modestly raising the risk of cataract formation. There's also a clinical limitation. Changes in the iris are harder to detect against dark color, sometimes hiding early signs of disease. Brown eyes protect strongly in sunlight, yet trade brightness endurance for reduced adaptability in dim environments. They remain by far the most common eye color, found in more than 70% of people worldwide. Green eyes only. About 2% of people have green eyes, a pigment blend so rare that it evolved under specific lighting conditions. Green eyes rely on a delicate mix of melanin and a yellow pigment called lipochrome, giving them their distinct hue. Green eyes emerged as a rare pigment blend suited to temperate, shifting light, but their instability now makes them vulnerable to environmental glare and irritation. That balance, while beautiful, is unstable. They absorb less UV than brown eyes, but scatter more light than blue, leaving them vulnerable to both glare and dimness. In direct sunlight, they can experience photophobia and mild inflammation around the iris. Their pigment chemistry is highly sensitive, shifting slightly with hormones, age, or prolonged exposure. Ophthalmologists note a higher likelihood of UV-related irritation, since mid-level pigmentation offers inconsistent protection. Black eyes. Black eyes are not truly black, but an extreme shade of brown, created by densely layered melanin. This heavy pigmentation evolved for survival under extreme sunlight, but in low-light modern conditions, it restricts vision more than it protects. This pigment offers maximum sunlight protection, yet it filters so much light that vision can weaken in low illumination. In dark or foggy settings, black-eyed individuals may struggle to perceive fine detail, as less light reaches the retina. The heavy pigment also absorbs heat quickly, leading to subtle eye fatigue and prolonged brightness. Because the iris reflects almost no light, medical professionals can find it harder to detect internal changes or early disease indicators. The very darkness that shields from glare also hides nuance, trading defense for visual flexibility. Black eyes are common in equatorial and tropical populations, appearing in large numbers across Africa and Asia. Hazel eyes. Hazel eyes sit between dark and light, blending multiple pigments that shift with illumination. Hazel eyes likely formed as an adaptive middle ground between light and dark climates, but in today's environments, that versatility can turn into visual inconsistency. That variability, though visually striking, creates instability. Their iris constantly adjusts to changing light, which can cause mild visual fatigue during rapid brightness transitions. Hazel eyes are moderately sensitive to glare, but not as well protected from UV as darker tones. They lack both the strong defense of brown eyes and the low light benefit of blue eyes, placing them in the middle for performance. This complexity also makes iris imaging inconsistent, since patterns vary widely from person to person. Their chameleon-like tone offers aesthetic appeal, but less optical stability. Hazel eyes are moderately rare, found in roughly 5% of the global population. Amber eyes. Amber eyes are among the rarest in the world, appearing in less than 5% of people. Amber eyes contain high amounts of lipochrome and minimal melanin, creating a deep golden tone with limited UV defense. Amber pigmentation may have been selected as a byproduct of reduced melanin and high lipochrome levels, advantageous for light absorption, but poorly suited for modern UV exposure. Unlike hazel, amber eyes do not shift with light, making them less adaptive to brightness. Their steady coloration becomes a weakness in harsh sunlight, as the iris cannot regulate reflection efficiently. This leads to greater glare sensitivity and quicker visual fatigue outdoors. Because they reflect warm light strongly, amber eyes can also experience reduced contrast perception in golden or desert environments. Their glow remains constant, but the protection it offers is minimal, leaving them dependent on external shading. Gray eyes. Gray eyes are exceptionally uncommon, present in fewer than 3% of the global population. Gray eyes contain even less melanin than blue, scattering light broadly across the iris. Gray eyes likely developed in low sun regions to maximize dim light sensitivity, an advantage that now becomes a burden under intense or reflective light. This diffuse reflection makes them extremely light sensitive, often to the point of discomfort in midday sun. Their pale pigment allows sunlight to enter more freely, straining the retina and increasing photophobia. Under strong glare, gray eyes may lose focus or contrast more rapidly than any other color. They also struggle to adjust between bright and dim settings, as the iris lacks pigment depth for smooth regulation. Though visually rare and distinctive, gray eyes require the most protection, thriving only in low or diffused light conditions. Heterochromia. Heterochromia remains extremely rare, affecting less than 1% of the population worldwide. Heterochromia, where one eye differs in color from the other, offers no special visual benefit. The uneven pigmentation of heterochromia has no adaptive advantage, but reflects the genetic flexibility that once helped humans adjust to changing environments. In fact, it can signal uneven pigment distribution between the irises, leading to slight light imbalance. The lighter eye may be more sensitive to brightness, while the darker eye filters more light, forcing the brain to continually balance input. This asymmetry can create mild strain or depth perception variation, especially in prolonged exposure to glare. When acquired later in life, heterochromia may also accompany trauma or inflammation, conditions that can subtly impair vision. Though visually striking, the imbalance of pigment can mean unequal protection and a more delicate response to changing light. If you learned something new, drop a like, share this with someone curious, and hit subscribe for more explained videos.